Hi, my name is Jada Hairston.
Hi, my name is Tiara Harris, and this is our interview session in which we will cover all of the great topics that we have discussed in our Women of Color class this semester. So I can't believe it's the end of the semester already.
I know.
Oh, wow. So we learned a lot in Professor Finley's class, Women of Color class this semester. So let's reflect on some of the authors that we have covered and discuss some of the concepts that we have learned. You ready? Okay, so how are women represented in the Western world during Greek and Roman antiquity? What were your impressions upon reading about these women during this time?
During the ancient Greek and Roman time periods, women didn't really have a voice. It is quite interesting that men who wrote all of the documents and journals that dissect women's behaviors and roles in society. This shows that the power lies only with the men. Also, because the women lived in a patriarchal environment, the tasks expected of women were defined by their Greek and Roman counterparts. And that's pretty sad.
It is. I completely agree with you, Jada. It really is. Okay, so on to Sor Ursula de Jesus, if you remember. With the information that you have on Sor Ursula, describe her type of writing and what she produces. How would you describe her discourse?
Ursula de Jesus was an Afro-Peruvian who took the title of a slave after her mother. She was a religious servant, una donada, and during her time as a slave, she saw firsthand the work of mystics and began religious work after 40 years of enslavement. Her writing was not really published until the 21st century, and her diary entries were filled with complaints about the nuns from when she stayed in the convent. She shared accounts of how she was treated unfairly compared to the other nuns who weren't women of color, and this is an example of her discourse. Because she was a woman of color, she suffered hardships in the religious environments despite it being a place of divinity.
Yeah, I remember a lot about Sor Ursula. Okay, so in Yo Me Soy La Morenica, the song, does it demonstrate intersubjectivity? If so, how?
Yes. The ballad Yo Me Soy La Morenica demonstrates intersubjectivity because although the song is in first person, the woman's sentiments in the lines of the song can be shared with other women who may not have been from this particular medieval time period.
I agree. So after reading Volume 10, what would you say, Volume 10 by Rosario Castellanos, what would you say is the central idea that Rosario Castellanos is trying to convey, taking into consideration the readings from the Rosario Castellanos reader?
After reading the poem entitled Volume 10, I think that Rosario Castellanos is trying to normalize the domestic duties of women, which are described in the Rosario Castellanos reader as well. She talks about women and how they are burdened with these domestic duties concerning the children and the home, and that these tasks cause them to stress and experience anxiety, and as a result, they rely on this drug, Valium, and they take these pills, hence the title of the poem, Volume 10. This was probably one of my favorite poems, one of my favorite topics during this course, because it just sheds a light on the burdens that women face historically, but also the task that the contemporary woman, who is quite a bit more dominant than the traditional woman, the historical woman, that they face today because of machismo and the lack of responsibility with their spouses who are men.
Yeah, women went through a lot. I enjoyed the poem too. So, as a poet, how does Cristina Cabral convey her social experiences in her writing?
Cristina Cabral is an Afro-Uruguayan poet that used her gift to shed a light on the Black community in South America. Many people who could not relate to her work did not like her poetry, but they had to realize that this poetry was for the people who had no voice,
right,
and who were not usually represented, the other Afro-Uruguayans. Cristina Cabral, another Afro-Uruguayan writer, came to fame after Brendas de Salas, if you remember. And she wrote many works like Virginia Brendas de Salas at first, but as she visited Brazil and the United States, her work became more mature. She then began to write about poverty, racism, and sexism and cultural alienation. these topics were more different than the writers that came before her.
Right, most definitely. I completely agree. So that's pretty much it. We learned a lot this semester.
We really did.
So thank you so much for answering my questions. And yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.